Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back from lunch. I'm Janed, the host for the session, and I'm gonna get out of the way and hand it over to Christina.
Yeah, but now it's turned on. Great. So welcome to this presentation about the standardization of health and social care in Danish municipalities. So I'm Kirstine Gøeg, and I work as a private health IT consultant. But really the presentation that I'm going to do today is really on behalf of this organization, the Local Government Denmark, which I have worked for as a standardization expert for the past 8 years. This talk is taking its point of departure in the Danish municipalities. And to just give you a little bit of background about that. So this is Denmark, and Denmark is split into 98 different municipalities. So even though it's a small countries, we have divided it into even smaller units. And in the municipalities, we deliver all the close to citizen care in Denmark. So I have written some of the task downs here. It's like home care, home nursing, elderly care, physiotherapy, like rehabilitation after surgery, is occupational therapy, social work, like if you have a disability or there's social problems in a family, they'll also help with those. So you can see it's like all these different tasks that they're solving, and it includes a lot of different professional groups. So also to give you a little bit of an idea about the complexity and the size, the municipality has at least 100,000 employees in this area in the front row, taking care of the close to citizen needs in Denmark. There's at least 3 citizen journal systems per municipality. So not like extra apps and stuff, but like central pieces of where you keep information. And approximately, I tried to count, but it's kind of difficult, right? Approximately 10 citizen journal vendors in total in Denmark. So let's look at the complexity from the view of a single municipality. So here you have these different citizen journals. So these are just examples that's somewhat precise, because expressing something like this in English is quite difficult. But so the situation is that most countries would have most municipalities would have a health and care journal, somewhere where you document things about functional abilities and social problems, and then something like the Children Prevention Program has its own journal. And you might think that, okay, so that's not so much of a complexity. I think the real complexity comes here. It's all the ones that wants to share information with the municipalities. And you can think if you have all these municipalities that have closest to citizen care, who wants to communicate, the hospitals, the nursing homes, there's internal communication, there's different professionals that's working together inside the municipalities. So there's needs for public health statistics, telemedicine, things like data management, information systems. So lots of different needs. And these needs have developed over the past maybe 10 years. And every time we find, oh, we can use the data for this thing as well, then this happens. So we create separate data collection processes that gives extra documentation work for practitioners. And the municipalities have to go and acquisition new IT integration solutions. So that became a real problem. So what we thought in local government Denmark was, oh, we want to use standards. We want to do this better. And we had 2 primary goals. So one goal was to have a more citizen-centric view of the data, because the way it is now, or has been in the past, is that you could have a nurse registering a memory problem on some citizen. So you had a nursing memory problem, and then the home care personnel would register that as well. So you would have a home care memory problem, but really it's not a nursing or home care problem, it's the citizen that has that problem. So we wanted to make sure that that could be a common way of seeing the data. The other thing was that we really wanted transparency for data users, so that we ultimately could streamline the integration, so that we could get the data out there without having to do new integration solutions all the time. And I wish I could tell you that FHIR came in and solved the whole problem. I guess the truth is that we did a lot of other things as well. So it was like talking to hundreds of professionals throughout the last many years, doing workshops. Whenever we did some modeling, going back to the users, saying, okay, how well does this reflect your work? It was doing terminology, including a lot of SNOMED-CC mappings, a lot of native SNOMED for observations and stuff. And it was like being very ambitious about our modeling principles. So we have also been doing all of this work as information modeling work, and told it to IT architects in their own words, in accordance with the Danish reference architectures, things like that. So there's a whole documentation side not represented in the final FHIR documents or FHIR implementation guides, because those we did mainly for the developers. Well, all this, of course, put some input into our FHIR modeling. So we have done some implementation guides and stuff. I'll tell you about that in a bit. But also I want to tell you that in the end, we have actually put the first national reporting system into work, and have a very good workflow for that. So 90,000 Danish healthcare workers report data to this system now. But we're here to talk about FHIR, right? So let's look at that. So this is our standards framework. We have these core models. So we have the terminology, which is a collection of both code systems and value sets. And some of the code systems are our own. So local government Denmark has a responsibility for those. And some of them are SNOMED value sets and things like that. Then we have the core model, which is like an overview or overall model that helps us keep the consistency in all the other things that we do. And then we have the ingest model, which does not translate very well. It's like common observations and questionnaires that we use in the municipalities. So let's look at the implementation models. We have a lot of reporting models, which are like constraint models of the core models for different purposes. And then we have a few messaging models as well. Not so many messaging models, because in Denmark, there's like this split responsibility between what is social care and healthcare. And in terms of the healthcare messaging models, it's done by another organization called Midcom, where some here in the audience are coming from. So I authored some of these models. Those that I didn't author, Torben authored, so he can answer the questions I can't, but at least. So what I want to do next is like illustrate how we use the core model to like constrain our implementation models. So here you see the core model, and at a glance, what you may notice is that we like put some of these FHIR concepts or way of thinking about things, we put it into our own modeling framework. And that's of course because we started with the information models and then kind of profiled that into FHIR. So we have some requests coming in, then we have some activity planning centered around care plans and goals. Then we go to like where we execute things. We can do that using encounters, procedures, clinical impressions. And then there's a lot of status resources, observations and conditions. So I could talk about this for hours, of course, I would. So let's see how, I'll just show you a few examples of the implementation guides I'm working at right now. So this is rehabilitation, where we are saying, okay, from when we are going to train with people that have had an surgery, then what are we going to do? And you can see now some of the things are gone. And of course, we constrained the value sets and other things as well, because now we don't have the full range, we have it like smaller. And so use case per use case, we can like constrain the models, and some of the models are quite small. So when we look at the data set for our children's prevention program, which is mainly like statuses of children, it's very focused about like observations. I have a few points about implementation guides and documentation, because we have done some experiences there. One of the things is that I think it's really important to say that at least from a core model perspective, it's really important not just to constrain, but also to explain. I think it's so nice to say because it's rhyming. But we have done that a lot. We have been explaining. And so this is the Mark example, where we're telling about, oh, this is Mark, he has a nursing problem, there's a pressure ulcer. What are we going to do? So we tell about what happens and tell about like which data do we collect at different times in this pathway. So that has been a very good experience. And I told you about the IT architecture models as well. And we wanted a good relationship between the Danish words and the Danish models and the FHIR models. So we did these conversions on every profile page so that we could see how things were defined and expressed in Danish and say, okay, I want it in precisely this field in the FHIR model. So we, of course, have now a framework that we can work in. And really, the place we are now is that we are moving into new professional areas. And we have some areas that's already in the process of being standardized, and we are doing the same over and over, right? Doing more FHIR profiling and more SNOMED CT. One of the upcoming things is really maintenance. So now we are moving from R4 to R5. So are we going to migrate all our models and our implementations, or are we going to like wait for R6? But also just questions like, so SNOMED CT has a release every month. Are we going to do the continuous release cycles, or how are we going to manage this over the years? So that's really an upcoming thing. Okay, so I'll just sum up. I think the things that we have learned, or what we have succeeded in, is like build a framework that really protects our healthcare professionals from documenting the same things over and over again. And that's really good. So we have found a way of working that ensures consistency together with the ability to work use case by use case. So we don't have to do standards for 100,000 of healthcare workers at the same time, but can work in different like clinical fields one at a time. And we know that one of our big future challenges is really the maintenance. So I would really like you to come and talk to me about that or any other thing, because I really enjoy talking to all of you at this event. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening.
Thank you
I
so
also
much.
have the feedback form here.
Perfect. Any Q&A from the audience?
Thanks for the presentation, Mikael Rinnemäki from Finland. How about international outreach? How much of the IGs that you produce, you think it's really Danish-centric? How much could you cooperate with in other Nordic countries?
We didn't, at the time where we started, find any similar standards in other countries. We did actually look for it. But I think that both the Swedish and Norwegian systems, at least, are very scattered and very different. So it's also very municipality specific what you do. And they didn't have a plan to do like standard work on the basis of the whole country, at least not at that time. So we have had some interest actually from other countries in these standards because they're one of the first of this kind where you go to the close to citizen healthcare, I believe. Or do you have some?
No, I haven't checked.
No.
But my question then would be, do you have any plans on making that kind of available for Norwegian, Swedish implementers, even advertise that this is possible and take it into use? Or
yeah, so I would really love to, but I do not pay the bill. And I think that's probably the problem in many of the like real implementations, is that it needs to give benefits for the caring of the Danish citizens. And it's difficult for me to come and say to the local government Denmark, please provide me with some money so that I can do more international work. I was just happy that they said it was okay to share today, so that I could share with all of you. But it's really a matter of funding, I think.
My argument there is, if you're now really serious about, okay, how do we maintain this? Then it would be, hey, it might not be just us maintaining it. How can we get other people maintain this for us on their expense?
Yeah, you're right. And it's a good strategic direction. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you just expand a little bit more on your core methodology? So you started with an information model. It was deeply rooted in stakeholder engagements. How did that translate into your profiling decisions that you made around like the types of constraints, if you made them, based on? Because I think, let me explain. I think sometimes information models are this expression of all the ways it's possible to collect health information. And when we profile, sometimes we have a different motive than just expressing the way that health data is linked. How did you navigate that in your methodology for developing the core that was the basis for this?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. We decided actually to make an information model for the specific area. So instead of saying, so in Denmark, we have this range of very high level information model that describes care or processes in the municipalities and things like that. And we actually did a lot of constraining, like mentally, on that work. So made it very specific so that there wasn't so much wriggle room or when we came to profiling. So we tried to make a very accurate representation of what we actually wanted in the models. And I would say that we actually also decided to do it like a two-way process. So we looked at FHIR and the information model at the same time. We wanted it to be very consistent with each other, so that we could do these very accurate representations when we came to the profiling, say, okay, this is exactly this attribute. You can re-find it in the other models. So I think we did it in 2 layers. So general models, then we like specialized that, and the specialization was made into the FHIR models.
I think we've got time for one more quick question.
Hi, thank you very much for presenting the use case in Denmark. My name is Lucas, a clinical data modeler, and also for showing that you standardize these use cases in collaboration with other companies. And the question that I have is, how did you realize that you need external help to implement this, and how did you decide with whom you work?
With whom?
Which company?
Okay, but in Denmark and the EU, there's some rules about how you like acquire work. So we of course had to keep those rules. And I think that another thing in Denmark is that the communities are quite small. So everything that knows FHIR knows each other, and everyone that knows terminologies knows each other. So we actually knows who are the best and who can do that and things like that. Yeah, so compared to other countries, I think it's a small problem. Yeah.
Alrighty, Christina, thank you so much for your
you're
time.
welcome.
Thank you all as well. And give it up one more time. You all have a great day.